Hello, everybody. I'm Landon Lando Sanders, joined alongside by Rambo Ray of the Dallas Empire for a quick little post-match interview after a semifinal loss to the Minnesota Rocker. Ray, I know this one more on a somber note, but at the very least, a solid tournament nonetheless. Kind of walk me through a little bit the group stage. Right, did you expect some close games versus both Toronto and the Gorillas?
Toronto a little bit, not really the Gorillas. We've been handling the Gorillas pretty well online in scrims. Toronto is actually one of the teams that I feel like is going to come out definitely on the good side of not just the online, not for only the online reasons, but just their team changes they've been making. Their roster seems to have found a point where they're actually playing really well. The improvements they've made, I'm sure Marky B has a big impact on that, but that team's looking a lot better now. So I was suspecting Toronto to be a close match, not really the Gorilla one. But yeah, we were happy to come out on top of both of them, obviously, as close as they were. We've showed a lot of kind of good resurgence in our search and destroy game. It was a little lackluster before this event, but yeah, we were made some really big strides, especially on Piccadilly search and destroy, which has become one of our strong maps now. So like the goal as a team is to really have a strong map pool to be ready to play against other teams' weaknesses and strengths. And we're almost there now to where our map pool is like strong enough to where no matter what veto happens, we have a good chance to win every match.
Now, a big story for this weekend coming into online was how the young guns of Illy and Shotzi were going to play. A lot of people kind of had them on their top 5 players to watch coming into this event. At least from a statistics point of view, both of them actually had some very, very great moments and memorable ones, especially Illy on that ending Hackney hardpoint clutch. From a coach's perspective, thoughts on the young guns, their progression they made throughout this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, they've been making they've been making a progression basically all year. It's not just weekend. It's not going to stop now. It's not going to start because we were online. They've made some big strides to play at the highest level and compete in a way that helps us win games. And Shotzi did in LA. Ailey did a lot of good plays in LA as well. Probably Shotzi more so from a statistical standpoint compared to what he was doing before in the previous events. But these guys are just understanding how to play the game at the highest level now, and are making big strides in understanding how to help the team wins on the smaller things. And like, for example, what Ender did on that specific play you were bringing up on Hackney, it was a lot of kind of mistakes that happened early in the year that just don't happen anymore because he's made them and he's learned from them. And that's kind of the big point and the big topic to really talk about with these young guys is their ability to like go through the wrongs and really understand what they did wrong and learn from it. Trial by error, I guess, is really kind of shown their progress, and really kind of now they come out into those situations to really show that they can come out on top. So instead of losing the close games, we won the close games this weekend.
Now, I don't want to go super in depth with the strategy, obviously, for the sake of competitiveness, but we did see a fair amount of similar maps in this semifinal series to the LA Grand Final one that we saw here versus the Rocker. How did you feel about the map veto process? I'm not sure if you're involved in that, if you can give some kind of maybe a spotlight to that if you're involved in it, and if so, how did you feel about the maps coming into this series versus Minnesota?
I mean, all I can say is we knocked it out of the park. It just didn't come out for whatever reason. It didn't come out our way. But yeah, no, on that, the vetoes are always interesting because you can play the team strengths and like you can look at previous matchups and whatnot. But what a lot of people don't see is what happens online when you scrim. So like the map set or the amount of matches that people are going off of when they talk about in broadcast is a much smaller map set.
Sure.
or map pool of total matches played compared to what we do online. Typically, when teams scrim each other, they play all the hard points and all the dominations, and don't really play search on a daily basis. So, going off what we've been playing online against this team specifically in the past, we felt really good about our chances in this match.
Well, one of those,
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're good. No, you're good. I was done. You're good.
So one of those maps in particular, kind of on topic with it, Hackney Yard Hardpoint. This has kind of been somewhat of a roller coaster of a map for you guys recently. It was a 3-point game in LA in which the Rocker ended up taking it, forcing that game 5. You guys have 2 insane comebacks on Hackney this weekend versus both Toronto and LAG. Clearly the Rocker game, a different story when it comes down to Hackney this time. What do you think Minnesota did right versus the team in this final match that you guys play out?
You could probably look at the numbers if you really want, but I think we got outside about like 25 to 30 kills, and the same thing in the first at the hard point. And this is where I'm going to bring it up, but the league is doing what they can. And again, this is not a shot on the league. The league is doing not exactly, but they're doing the best they can to provide the most fair environment for us to compete on. Granted, online play is always going to have some advantages, some disadvantages for some teams. And it did feel on our end that we were at a small disadvantage. I'm not bringing that as an excuse. The way they were playing exactly what they needed to do. Minnesota played amazing against us. They played very similarly to what they did in LA, but it's just the slaying point was a lot different. I mean, in LA, I think we might have gotten outslayed by 5 or 6 kills on that Hackney Harp when we played in LA. And I would say they played a lot better then than they did against us today. It's just matter today, from a positional standpoint, today they just outslayed us by 1,000,000. I mean, if like on the 3 respawns combined, I think we got outslayed by like 60 kills. And you're never going to win. You're never going to win respawns or get outslayed by that much. I don't care how well you're playing around the map or how aggressive you are. If I'm losing 3 out of every 4 gunfight, there's no way I can win a game. So that's basically what happened today, sadly. And then hopefully we can change that for the future. We might have to figure out different strategies to kind of cater to what environment we're competing in, and change our play style a little bit to, again, loosen the load and allow us to maybe be in a situation where we don't get outslayed by that much. And maybe we just had an off day. It's hard to tell at this very moment in time because it just happened. But we'll go and look at it and see what we can do to make it better for next time we get in that situation.
Have you guys gotten a chance to speak with each other, yourself and the team, after the Rocker loss?
Oh, well, there's always like these small kind of, I guess, heated discussions going after a loss. Like the players are never happy to lose. But we do talk about things a little bit and kind of pinpoint mistakes that we made. Not always the most productive way of going about things. The most productive thing is going to happen is next time we scrim, and we're going to probably sit there and watch our matches and see what we did wrong, what we did right. But it's really hard to look at how you played the game when you're getting outslayed by 25, 30 kills in a game. Like for example, if your team, my team play against each other and we go square even with how many kills we got, but we lost the game by like 150 points. We clearly know that slaying wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
Like we clearly made some plays around the map that costed us time, or that put us in situations that we didn't want to be in. But when you get outslayed by 25, 30 kills, you can't accomplish the things you're trying to accomplish. I can't get to the position I want to get to because I try to move there, but I got killed doing it. And multiple times. It's not just once. So it's really to that point. There's things to learn, but for the most part, it's just a matter of like the dumb quick answer is just don't get outslayed by that much, and we have a better chance of winning next time. Because it's not like we lost these games by a lot of points, right? We lost the Hackney by like 55 points, and we lost the Ramaza by like 20 something or 30 points barely. So it's like even we're getting outside, we're still coming close, which kind of shows that we're doing a lot of good things around the map. We just need to find a way to get a little more kills, and that's kind of the basis and the difference when I see today. And it's incredibly hard for me as a coach to watch this and see it go down that way because this never happens when we scrim. Granted, there could be some differences, some communication difference, the load of pressure to matches and all that stuff, but it doesn't. Based on what I've seen so far based on what I've seen so far from the guys in LA and from the communication aspects that I've been able to hear from this weekend, it doesn't seem like there's much different going on our end from what we scrim. So again, we're gonna have to go back and go read the book, not read the book, but go buy the book and see what we can do to make better for the next event, and see if we can change things to let the tournament go in our way next time.
Well, you guys have been lights out in Search and Destroy. If this series, you think, makes it to a Game 5, what are the chances you guys make it to the Grand Finals, you think?
Our Search and Destroy was in lights out this weekend. I mean, that's like the biggest positive that I have, and that's super exciting for me as a coach. Because again, when we practice, we're mostly playing respawn modes,
sure,
and we're very good at those. That was like, if you asked me before the weekend, and we had the same interview before, and you're like, Ray, where's your team? Where's your team's going to do well this weekend? We might not do so well in Search, but we're going to win all our hard points. It's going to be great. And to see the kind of the opposite happen, it kind of tells you like something changed or whatever it may be.
Right. The
circumstances of what we've been practicing on were not the same when we compete in these matches. But no, it's super exciting. We went over a lot of kind of Search and Destroy strategies, like literally the day of Friday and the day of yesterday, to really kind of pinpoint what we want to accomplish around the map. And our team play more so was extremely strong. Small things that I can say from the past, like Illy has been a very prominent Search and Destroy player for a long time, but Search and Destroy at a pro level and at a kind of casual competitive level is very different. A lot more individual talent is required to play Search at the level or in a less kind of professional environment, I guess I'm going to say. The pro teams are very team driven, and they really kind of make sure they go with their strengths of communication and position on the map to win these rounds consistently. And we showed that this weekend. Even when we were in a bad situation, I think was it the Gunrunner against Toronto? We like clutched up. We won like, I think a lot of like missed matches. Like we were down a player or two in rounds, and we won like 3 or 4 of them in the match to really kind of come on top. And a lot of our scenario and how we go about rounds that are kind of wishy-washy, I guess you can say, are extremely good, and that's super encouraging for me as a coach to see that, because I think Merck says it all the time, but winning search and destroy wins these championships, and I believe that as well. Search and destroy is kind of that one mode, again, that people don't practice very much, and if you can be strong in that mode and have an advantage, normally if you're good enough and hard, if you're like, we're plenty good enough to win at least one respawn a game. So if we can win both our searches every time, we're going to really, really hard team to beat. So yeah, it's just hoping that nothing in the future happens the way it did today, where we just get massively outslayed in respawns. And I'm really excited for the future of our next tournaments and competition.
Well, on topic with that, what are the next steps for the Empire right now? Obviously, the loss takes place. Probably need a day to kind of go over things a little bit. But what do you think the next steps are leading up into Chicago?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really the state of like figuring out like typically we don't do as much VOD as we kind of probably should. This is kind of a small issue I can put to light because it doesn't really impact our team. But hopefully in this case, we can go through and watch what we did right and wrong this weekend. There's a small mistakes we were making that get amplified when you get killed. Like, for example, when our team normally slays pretty well when we compete, and you get away with things when you slay well. But if you make, like, for example, if I make a bad play and I kill 5 guys, then the bad play doesn't matter if it was bad or good because I killed all of them. But if you make a bad play and a couple of bad plays kind of come on, you don't get a kill out of it, then if the other team is playing positionally correct, which is what the Rocker do a lot, they take advantage of it. And it showed today, like when they were, without slaying as much as they did, they were able to take a lot of advantage of a lot of situations. So that's probably the thing I'm going to push on the most for the guys, is really kind of go back with our gameplay. As much as there's a lot of frustrations because we lost a lot of gunfights that we don't normally lose, and that's going to be one of the big topics that's brought up by them. We're going to try and do the best we can to really pinpoint the decisions we made that could have been better, that maybe didn't happen in scrims, to try and really kind of make sure our scrim kind of play style is the same as our competitive play styles, more or less. So yeah, we'll see what that goes. But that's, without saying too much, I think that's kind of the basis of what we're going to go with.
Now, like I said, looking ahead, Chicago home series, less than 2 weeks away now. Obviously, you'll be playing alongside a few teams like FaZe and the Huntsmen. This has been considered by many as probably one of, if not the most stacked kind of event of the year. Obviously, this one kind of now being online. Obviously, you guys have a lot of history with the Huntsmen. You faced off against FaZe previously. These two teams, I know we've kind of talked about adjustments already, but what's kind of your feeling, your temperature, if you will, facing off against what should be a very, very stacked Chicago home series?
I mean, yeah, it would have been really cool to play against Chicago today. Obviously, that didn't happen for neither of us, really. But yeah, no, I'm excited, dude. Like, playing FaZe, and we thrive. We love competing against the best teams, and that's what I love about this team. Just these players in general, like, they want to play those teams. Like, they don't want like freebies or teams that aren't competing at the highest level or not playing into the best of their potential. We thrive off beating the best teams, and we haven't done that much this year. So for us to be in a position where we most likely will have a chance to play at least one of them again and compete and then have a chance to win is going to be exciting for us. So I suspect this next week and a half of scrimmings are going to be very intense and really make sure we have things fine-tuned for that tournament and be ready for it. But yeah, we're excited. I mean, every team, like, no matter what people think out there, players want to play against the best players. You want to win against the best players, because when you beat a team that wasn't the best, it still feels good. You still won. It's great. But at the same time, you want to be able to beat the best, right? So
Sure.
We're excited for that. And that may be a little contrary to belief. Some people, I saw some comments and whatnot, not without going too much into it. Like, trust me, we want to beat those teams very much. And that's never going to change regardless of what best team is at the time.
Well, that's RAMBO Ray, multiple-time champion, coach for the Dallas Empire. Ray, thanks so much for joining us.
Of course. And thank you to you for having me on, and thank you to our wonderful sponsors for being there supporting us, and to all the fans out there. Really, we appreciate the comments and the videos you guys are sending us on Twitter to wish us good luck. We love it, and we hope we can do better next time around.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much to everybody for checking this out. You can expect content like this and so much more over at the Dallas Empire YouTube channel. Things like live streams every Tuesday, Warzone and Pub Dominance from the Empire's own, as well as weekly and post-event updates from the good old Codfather himself, Mr. RAMBO Ray. Again, check out youtube.com/Dallas Empire for more.